trying out a new perspective here today. Because why not? Let's do it. It's a new moon. It's the final. Oh, the lights are crazy. That's what this new perspective is about. It's a new moon. It's a final new moon eclipse in Sagittarius. We've been living for the past 18 months since June of 2020. And so here we are, finally emerging from this wild Jupiterian journey. And in true Sagittarius fashion, like, I'm truly exhausted, but I had energy to put on like blue eyeshadow today.
I love it.
I was like,
you're Pisces. Let me bring out my beauty, my blue, my depth, my deep. Oh.
Exactly. And then I'll go back to sleep. And then I'll go back to sleep.
Right.
So if y'all are feeling tired, if y'all are feeling in your feelings, if y'all are feeling really like the most, that's okay, because you're not alone. And it's been a wild ride. How has this, I feel like we should sum up like this nodal journey. It's been
in bed right now. Yes.
In bed right now, you'd think. Wow. Thank goodness. Good for you. I'm going to go back there. I'm like, this is what I'm so happy that I like work from home. Like the last few years have been me being able to make this happen, and then the world forcing it to happen. But this is when I'm like, how did you think that you had energy like that before? Like, how did you think that you could do those things like that? So yeah, it's been an interesting, it's nice that I'm so glad that you're in bed. I'm so glad that we're in our little chairs and we're just like,
I love it. Yes. Everyone's like trying to get as cozy as possible, and it's great.
It's true. It's necessary, I think. Absolutely.
Well, and the nodes are switching into Taurus. So that's all about the five physical senses. That's all about, we talked about this yesterday, the idea of that forced rest, right? I'm in bed. It's like, that's you forcing yourself to rest, right? To lay down, like, just like give yourself that, give yourself that permission to, Taylor's like, why you gotta call it out like that right now? I didn't know.
No, this is great. Let's talk about this.
Right?
I was actually going to go, to be honest, I was going to go to the polls after this and ask people, like, what does forced rest mean to you? And like, how do you do this? Because like, I
do it with naps.
Like, literally,
naps.
I don't know how to nap. Okay, listen, I'm a Capricorn Rising. I don't know how to nap. Okay. It doesn't matter that Saturn is in my 12th house and like constantly drunk and just like laughing at like the misery of the world. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't know how to nap. So like,
I hear you. But
it's real, because
as a person who also did not know how to nap. And I took my power back and I said, right now, I'm not thinking about you. Right now, all of this is on time out. And I am going to lay here, and I don't even have to fall asleep. I'm going to close my eyes. Maybe I'll listen to a book on tape. Maybe I'll listen to some, salacious YouTube, like, crime documentary. I don't care.
Vanessa accidentally texted me. I'm watching the most salacious.
Exactly. I'm like, I got super overwhelmed yesterday. When I get overwhelmed, I get really tired. Like it's like a whole other level of tired. And so what I have to do is I have to wrap myself up in blankets and like hold myself, kind of hold myself still and put something on. Yeah, that doesn't have me being anybody. I'm just listening, right? And so that's like a forced rest for me, because it's like, no, I'm not. I don't work there. I don't live. I can't. I have to pull myself down. So I have to say, everybody, time out. Like, I'm choosing that. I'm taking my power back for 20 minutes. Like, not even like 8 hours. You're not even taking a day off. Like, you're literally going 30 minutes. I'm gonna say no to everybody.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. No, that's real. I can learn how to do
I
that.
hear. I'm
Apparently
so
I
glad
have to.
they brought
Apparently I
up
have
the
to.
favorite bed. Oh,
Apparently I have to learn how to do this because I have been instructed by my I can't really call him a therapist, but they're a counselor. Some Pisces
yes.
feel that at will rather than illness. Wow. Okay. So I want to talk about that real quick. That's really interesting because I also have Neptune on my ascendant, and so I don't know if this plays a part, but I realize, like, as a young person, I wanted to be sick, and it did not occur to me until a few years ago that I learned at a young age that only when you were sick were you allowed to rest and were you given symptoms. And like there were also other things happening, like there were like other reasons for wanting to be sick, like I think trying to hide bruises maybe, and like that sort of, like if I can't really tell people what's happening, so if I'm sick then someone will pay attention to me, so there's definitely like more to it than that, and that's where it's like Neptune,
forced rest.
Like,
it's like forced rest.
But yes, I willed myself to be sick at like as a younger person because it was the only time that I could get a break, or like as a younger working person, you know, like as a young 20 something Capricorn rising out there, like I'm gonna I'll work a double, like I'll work I'll pick up that shift, and then being like, oh, I'm sick, and like now I can't, and that being the only way. So that's super real. Yes.
Wow.
Illness, like the only justification, and that is very Neptune. Neptune is totally like sort of like sweeping illness and sort of like drifting.
I don't know where it comes from.
Can I be ill?
And a lot of things that you actually do experience mysteriously, you know, and it's just like, it's just, it brings up so much anxiety, and anxiety makes us want to stay awake because we think that in these 30 minutes that we would take a break, the world's going to fall down. Like, or the world's not going to know we love it. And so then it's going to stop loving us. Like, you know, it's like, I always have to stay in this sort of constant concentration, beta waves.
Yeah. Well, and it's also perhaps a symptom of like late stage capitalism, where here we are, and like resting is like, if we're working for ourselves, and then we're every moment we're not working is a moment of losing money. Which is really stressful for a person, like just a single person. For an individual, that's an incredibly stressful proposition. But that is the world for us. Well, a lot of us are out here working for ourselves, and like, what is a break? What is a break really?
You know, going back to Taurus North Node, though, I think that's an interesting, like, when, you know, the nodes switch, since Uranus is going through Taurus and just, you know, ripping everything up for us, and it's like, oh, you had a way of being that was, you know, at least solidified in, like, you know, back and forth finances. Bye. God. And it's like, but the North Node coming through is like, I wonder if that's when we really start to see the seeds that were planted through that pandemic start to root, like start to grow, you know, because it's like the opportunities shifted. Like you did get time back, or you did get, like, some people got, you know, a blessing. Like I certainly received blessings throughout it, in like in ways that I wouldn't have expected. Uranus. Unseen blessings. Uranus, trying my Venus, right? Yeah, exactly. So a lot of things, you know, it's just such a chaotic experience that you can't, you know, you're just sort of either, get blessings, or you just like a lot of people fell apart with it, you know? So I think this North Node going through is going to be like that destiny of like, well, then what can we do from here? What people maybe have done since they had to rip up a lot of beliefs. They had to, you know, relearn some things or communicate in different ways. And it's like, how many people had all these beautiful ideas that maybe we start to see sprout coming in the Taurus North Node? I mean, I think that might be really interesting with socializing, you know what I mean? Or with anything. I mean, people came up with a lot of stuff. Like,
well, right. And the way that technology, Uranus, has helped us connect from rural places, or from sort of seemingly outside of city spaces, Taurus, right? And so we can do anything from anywhere now, pretty much, at this point, which is both terrifying and exciting. Personal
power, you know, more so than just shared power. It's personal power.
Yes. you don't have to live in the city anymore to make it
Right.
big. Like, you can have your rustic farm, and here's your
Right.
Instagram with like 1 million followers.
Yes.
And
All of
you
those
have
scenes.
you,
Oh,
then there
how
you
many
are.
people need like Airbnbs out in the forest and are like, it's open
I
now.
was gonna say,
Anyone, you can do
if
your
you have a
yoga
rustic
retreat
farm,
here. Right?
can we go to the rustic farm?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
if you have a rustic farm and you have 1 million followers, please invite us. We'll do an Astro Squad from
Yes.
the rustic farm.
And
We'll make it happen. We'll make it a whole event. Absolutely. But before we enter officially the nodal journey of Taurus and Scorpio, and all that Uranus magic to look forward to, we have this Sagittarian Gemini journey to wrap up. So what have we learned? We've learned a lot about learning, I think, mostly.
Yes.
Well, not mostly. I should say maybe a big part of this journey has been that. But yeah,
I know a couple people who
yeah,
shout out.
That's so real. Yeah, let's talk about the fact that moving power during the pandemic is absolutely like a huge point of privilege, and being able to move to a rustic farm in the middle of nowhere in a pandemic would be great. But I think maybe I meant more like those of us who didn't have to, or I don't know what I'm trying to say. Yes.
Because the eclipse is happening in your 12th house.
Yeah, right. So wrapping up the Sagittarius Gemini journey, we have made leaps and bounds in how we communicate. You and I started this because we were gonna start talking in person. We had all these literally how this started. For IRL things, and instead we live here. So technology, Gemini really did pull through in this connecting element of community, reigniting important conversations, being reacquainted with our peers and our environments in new ways. And in Sagittarius, letting go of lots of stories, lots of old narratives, old facts that compiled into stories that can be released now that new facts are being established in Gemini, new ways of thinking are being established in Gemini. So we're able to step out of these larger truths that actually are no longer true. They're not true anymore. And that can be, you know, I think the eclipse is over. The 18 months are intense, and as we reach this last one, there may be this cathartic release, right? There's sort of this like there's a finality, right? We're like, I'm starting to see now what I'm stepping away from. You're far enough away in the distance, or we've gone on this journey long enough, we've gone down this path far enough to see where it began a little bit, or see at least some of what we've traveled. So, and that's pretty Sagittarian language too, like literally traveling down a path. This one in particular is really nice. I say nice for an eclipse. It's nice for an eclipse. There's a little, you know, we started with a trine to Chiron kind of right immediately. Actually, I think the moon hit the south node first and then trine Chiron. So there was this kind of like things are now coming to the surface, things we're moving out of. And then
oh my god, actually that describes my past like 4 days. That makes sense.
This is connected to something that really hurts. Okay, got it.
Like ouch. Oh yes.
Yeah, right. Like this is
right.
That too. Okay. And then Saturn's kind of like, yeah, are you ready? We can do this. Look at how nice it is to step out of this, and how much you've grown in this time, and we can keep doing that. And then the new moon, the eclipse itself, being followed up with a conjunction to Mercury, some clarity emerging from all of this, really a square to big bad Neptune. What happens if I do this? What happens if I let this go? What is this all going to mean? Is everything going to be okay? And then a little kiss from Jupiter, who's ruling the moon itself, just going, you got this, boo. It's going to be okay.
I love
also because Jupiter's being ruled by Saturn. So it's like Saturn did the sign off, like, yes, this is good. I approve of these plans. And Jupiter was like, yes, I'm your boss, but Saturn's still my boss. And I know that this is gonna check out. You got this. You got this. Feel good about it. And Jupiter's on its way back to Pisces too, right? So this is sort of this nice little final Sagittarian lunation before Jupiter finally enters Pisces for good and kind of gets back to that party. So Vanessa's going to pull some cards for us. We're going to zip
Yes.
this chart. I'll say a few. Well, actually, no. What we did last time was great. You pulled the card first, right? And then
Yes.
then
And that
I
inspires
I respond. Yes.
I love that.
So, in tradition, we'll start with the rising sign of the moon. So Sag Rising.
Sagittarius. All right. So if you are a Sagittarius Rising, I'm using the Wisdom Oracle deck.
Yeah,
so,
tell us a little bit about this deck.
Right, because Sagittarius is all about wisdom. So, you know, this will be your wisdom card. Right. So if you're a Sagittarius Rising, you get regeneration. Wow. Okay. Like, that's pretty. Regeneration. So this card, it just symbolizes that maybe you went, you know, something happened that disintegrated you in some kind of way, or just something changed that was super transformative. Super transformative for you, but now you're starting to feel your strength again. You're starting to feel your power again, or you're starting to feel like you're connected with yourself more, probably, or that you understand more about who you are, and so you're able to grow into a more authentic you. So what would you say to Sagittarius Rising?
The most sense in the world. You just had the South Node in your first house for 18 months. During a pandemic. Someone who had this whole sense of self in this world, having to kind of put down pieces of that, step out of pieces of that, understanding what it means to grow out of stories. So regeneration sounds absolutely beautiful, because the South Node is going to leave your first house. You are going to be totally renewed, and you probably have a lot of new stories that you're really excited to explore, and a lot of new philosophies that are new truths that you maybe like never even thought could be possible before.
I love that, because it went over the ascendant. So it's like your destiny is like whatever you were doing before, it's now shifted and changed, and you're going to maybe go in a different direction. Just trust the direction, you know, right?
Absolutely. And last week's Kazemi was in your first house too. So like the moon finally caught up to kind of bring it all home, which is so beautiful.
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay.
I like that.
So, oh my God.
So
next we have, we're moving forward in the chart.
Capricorn.
So we're going to do Capricorn Rising, so your 12th house.
Your rising sign.
Oh boy. Okay, tell me what's up. What did I learn?
Yes, and the new moon in the 12th house. Okay.
I learned how to take a nap. Uh-oh.
Oh my goodness.
Don't tell me
serendipity.
Oh,
serendipity.
Cute.
So it's, it's exciting. You're like, thank God. And it almost looks like Neptune right here. I don't know why, but that's like that sort of Neptunian, like go with it, go with the flow. You might be seeing signs or symbols. You might be experiencing a bit of like sensing that there is good fortune coming for you, or that, you know, a feeling of blessings around you. So it could be that, you know, you're following more so the fun of life rather than maybe, you know, trying to stay as logical as possible. It's like, you know what, I feel like I'm in my flow, and I'm just going to keep going and enjoy it, and, you know, expect good things to come. So tell me, Capricorn Rising.
I mean, that sounds perfect, because for us little Capricorn Risings, the last 18 months have been really draining. It's been, you know, that 12th house can be very dark. It has probably brought up a lot of grief, a lot of like maybe some past life material, stories that have stretched over lifetimes, or at least have gone back to like the beginning of time, of your time, right? I mean, it could be the beginning of time. You could be an very old but there's something very deep to what has been released in this 18-month time, and I will say from personal experience, it's been exhausting. So this is lovely, and I think absolutely, because some of the purging of that 12th house, in the purging of that grief, in the acknowledgement of some of that weight that is carried up there, releasing it into the ether does create for some of that unspoken magic. And I think that is what serendipity is that very magical, only you perceive it with your own eyes, you know, it's you and the universe. So that sounds very appropriate. I love that.
I love that. And it is the 12th house of going with the flow and saying, like, you know, good and bad happen, you know, positive and negative. But if we keep the optimism, we can always find our way through. And not to, yeah,
I think
absolutely.
what is lovely about a Sag 12th house when it's healthy is that it can be very like, but me and the universe go together. So like, life may be crazy, but I have boundless optimism. I have faith. I have faith in something.
Yeah. Yes, faith. Exactly. Okay,
right.
So Aquarius
Risings, your 11th house of friendships, the future. Oh yeah. Interesting.
You know what? That's really funny. It's in the 11th house because the message is here and now. So it's saying, so it's saying pay attention to the present. Allow yourself this could also be a sort of forced rest, meditation wise, that if there isn't a lot going on, it doesn't mean that you have to force anything. It just might be a moment of pause for you, or a moment of grace, right? Just to let you sort of rest before more happens. But allowing yourself to be here and now is offering meditation, or the idea of meditation, or, you know, because the 11th, we can live so far in the future that it's saying, you know, make sure that you stay here so that you're able to handle what's going on here, because the future is dependent upon what you're doing here right now, what's happening right now. So always tend to what's happening right now, because that's always what will adjust the future. Yeah. Oh my God, that's so cool.
Wow, that makes so much sense. Absolutely. Having that South Node in your 11th house as an Aquarius, that is the Aquarius house, is kind of a standstill, or very anxiety producing in terms of what you're supposed to be doing. And so I love that as this kind of like, you will know soon enough, but the present is where the information is. And it does make sense to try to be thinking so far into the future when we are kind of scrambling to imagine if we'll get there.
It's so
it
true.
Does make sense to say, like, you are alive right now. That is what we're doing. You have Saturn in your first house. You are in the middle of these Saturn-Uranus squares. So just be here. And
be here.
The future will come. You will take one step at a time to get there.
One step at a time. Yes, absolutely. I love that. So Pisces.
Pisces rising, your 10th house.
10th house. Let's see. Okay. We have, not for you. Not for you. So this actually means divine protection. Like that rejection is divine protection.
Oh, it literally says not for you.
Yeah, literally says not for you. Like literally.
I was like, what?
This could be, but it is a square, so that actually makes sense because it's squaring the ascendant. You know, this is something, and it could be something to do with your career. You may be, you know, trying very hard to obtain something, or like maybe like this specific job, or this specific location, a specific whatever. And you may be getting rejected, but it may not actually be what you're thinking it may be, or it may be just your imagination that is kind of pushing it rather than what it is that you actually want, right? So that can be in love, that can be in whatever scenario. If you got a no recently, or if you're feeling like you're going up against a wall and it's just not coming down, it's not because you don't have enough, or that you aren't, you know, pushing hard enough. You're a Pisces, you have to go with the flow. It's just not your direction. So that, and it's okay, you know, like that, it may be divine protection. It may be keeping you from things that are maybe damaging or not fun, or totally different than what you expected.
Yeah, I'm thinking too, like these are both these angles then are Jupiter ruled, right?
Yeah.
And since the 10th house is so visible, and it can be kind of what we've seen growing up that we expect to live up to, I'm wondering too if there's an element of kind of finality in terms of like, oh, these things that I thought I had to be, like based on who my parents were, or who like I was raised to be, like I expected myself to live up to something, and I'm letting go of what those things are. Like I'm opening to these new possibilities of who I am and what I'm here to do. I'm like, and that go with the flow kind of trust way. Like I trust that
love that
can allow me to be what I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
This is fun. These cards are great for this.
I know, right? Sagittarius. Yeah, absolutely. So Aries.
So we're at Aries Rising, and we're looking at the 9th house now.
The 9th house, yes. So let's see. We've got Observer. That's so funny that this is from the 9th house. Look how, I mean, it's been amazing how these have been going, like, at least with the aspects, or like this. So this is, look, right? So this eclipse, since it's trining your ascendant, I take this as a positive sign. You're looking into expanding your mind, or expanding your knowledge, maybe about something specific, or maybe about a topic that's very important to you. Maybe you feel like you're ready to know more and explore more. Maybe you're feeling confident with where you are, right? Because of that trine happening, you're confident with, you know, your knowledge, your belief systems, and maybe now you want to tackle a bit more, or understand something that you haven't been able to understand until now, because maybe you have the time now, or maybe, you know, but this is all about looking further and looking deeply into things in order to gain your own experience with them without necessarily having to be in it or involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And when the sun is traveling through Sagittarius season for an Aries rising, that is in its joy. And so there is like this renewal of what I can learn and see. But as you're saying, like, I don't have to do it the way I've been doing it. There is this way of experiencing this. And perhaps I thought it had to be through this lens, or it had to look like this. And now I'm able to recognize that I'm doing it a whole new way. I love I'm taking things in with like fresh eyes, and I'm also learning something new about all of it.
Yeah, like you could take a course online just to know something more deeply, or you may just to become more of an expert, or to understand through somebody else's experience. And it helps you with your expression, since it's trine. It helps you express better. It helps you.
Absolutely. And the 9th house is that house of like broadcasting, right? Of like sharing too. So
that's interesting. So Taurus rising.
8th house.
8th house eclipse. Oh, breathe.
You showed me that card yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, that's so serene."
Isn't it?
Nice.
Well, I think this is similar to the here and now, but to me, it's not about being necessarily focused on the present as much as you're allowing yourself to be in the present, or just sort of letting yourself rest in a way. And if you are feeling anxiety, is maybe breath work might be something that's good for you, since Taurus is about the 5 physical senses in the body. But the eclipse is going through your 8th house, and that's a lot of deep rooted, you know, secrets maybe, or things that you don't really like to look at, or, you know, shared resources that are really positive for each other, but also where you feel you lack things, you know, because you have to like link with others. So this might be a nice, you know, just reminder to take a breath when you're not feeling, you know, you're enough, or that when you're feeling like, you know, you should be further along than you are. I think that's a big thing for Taurus right now, especially because it's going over Uranus is going over your ascendant. So things may have like really erupted in a way that has kind of reduced you back to like more of like your savviness, or more into like, you know, the things that have changed is like, now I'm just a new person, you know, it's like I don't even know who I am anymore, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That 8th house does contain so much psychic material, and similar to the 12th house, where there's like kind of karmic stuff up there can absolutely be like karmic bonds in the 8th house, things that we feel like we are, as you said, like, I don't want to let go of this, or like I have to fix this and I'm afraid. And so I think the past 18 months have maybe been filled with a lot of being on the edge of your seat, having to loosen your grip, having to let go of things. You mentioned secrets, and having to have things come up and having to face things, but ultimately in order to transform them, and that is exhausting. As well,
bringing things to the light is so exhausting.
It's exhausting, and it requires so much energy and so much emotional labor to move through that. And so I think I love seeing this breathe card, because I like so much like filling that solar plexus space too, and just remembering that, like, even though you've had to release so much in the past 18 months, does not make you a weaker person, or does not mean that you have lost any of your integrity or strength. It means, if anything, that you've actually gained so much by doing so. Trust, like breathing in some trust, and just kind of like, I'm safe, and
I
remembering
love that.
like,
Yes.
breath work is so important because like it is only in releasing the breath slowly that we like signal to our brains that we can relax. And so yeah, I love that. Okay.
Oh,
Right.
so this just flipped out. This
Oh.
is Gemini, right? Gemini
Yeah.
Rising.
Gemini Rising. So we're looking at the
Wow.
seventh house. What do we got?
Yeah, it's in the, the eclipse is in the 7th. All that glitters.
Okay, you warned me about this one. I was like,
I thought
scary cards in here.
right, what is the shiny thing? What is the
Right.
it's a lot of comparison. It's a lot of, always going to the next shiny thing, or always what's the thing that's going to make me feel in tune with myself? I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of eclipses. Yeah, exactly. Like having a 7th house Sagittarius is you're really attracted to people who are, seeking wisdom, or people who have beliefs that you may want to live up to, or people who have experiences that live out that are wider than yours, or broader than yours. And so that person stimulates you. But when we have like all that glitters, it's saying that just because that person may have a lot of things or be a lot of things that you don't see in yourself, doesn't mean that you don't have just as much, or it doesn't mean that's the way for you to go. It just means that person is shining in the way that they shine, and that you're maybe still discovering how you shine, and that it's okay to like things that you like, even if they don't feel like they're on the same level as, say, other people, or to want more for yourself, even if it's not in the same vein as somebody else with a lot of abundance.
Damn. Yeah, absolutely. I'm really thinking like that Sagittarian 7th house. It must be like love. First of all, that just sounds like such a happening love zone. Like,
I know, right?
Cancer, and it's very like, hi.
I remember your favorite food from when we ate our second date.
Oh my god, right.
Sagittarius is like, let's talk about quantum physics and the expanse of the Sahara.
Italy for our first date. I can see like people entering that 7th house space being very flashy, or being very, and that being very culturally what we're taught to love too, like I think so many, remembering the cultural skew to Sagittarius and how we all buy into these stories. And so there may be a lot of stories about love that you thought were true, things that you thought you loved about people, qualities that you thought you were attracted to, that you realized you were sort of culturally bound to, or that were sort of gassed up to you, that actually don't mean for you anymore, and you don't need to ascribe to those stories anymore. Absolutely. So yeah, recognizing that, like, yes, the shiny things are like not necessarily
the shiny thing.
And like,
you're a shiny thing. You're also a shiny thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, right. Like, you're shiny. You have your own. Like, what are your own adventures? What are you?
Yeah.
At the table. I like that.
Yeah, you're cool too. You're witty too. You're, yeah.
Right.
Okay, so Cancer Rising. So it would be in your 6th house, right? Yeah. Soulmates. How cute is that? Cancer Rising, soulmates. So this is just saying that you found something that really has opened your heart, or something that you feel committed to and bonded to on a deeper level, or that's what matters to you. What matters to you is to feel like whatever it is that you're interested in, be it a person, be it, a career path, a soul journey, whatever, that it really does fit with you and calls to you, and there's a deeper experience there. So maybe you've been doing things more to give and give, like a Cancer, I just want to offer, I want to give, I want to make sure that I'm there for everyone. This might be more so, well, then what makes me turn on? What makes me feel comfortable and safe? What makes me feel like I'm seen and I'm heard, and I have a sense of belonging, right? So I think there's that kind of opening to your own needs, and saying that you'd like, certain things in your life to fit in that way, more so than just what you can offer.
Yeah, absolutely. That 6th house is the house of service, and it's where we are engaged in kind of imbalanced or unequal relationships, because we offer something to someone, and that is very much in line with what a Cancer wants to be doing, wants to be nurturing, caring in some way. And so it makes sense that for a sixth house to be so Sag, it needs passion in order to feel like it can continue to give in that way. That's going to be going to be unreciprocated, because that is what it is. You can't give back to me exactly what I need the way that I can give you. That's going to be fine. That's what we're here to do. So I love soulmate energy because it does need to be something that I can wake up and get ignited for day after day in order for me to feel like I'm nurturing the way I want to, and also for me to give a fuck. Like for me to show up with that selfless passion, with that Sag energy of like, I'm a good Samaritan. I need to feel
very true.
It needs to light me up in order to really come through the way that I see it. The way that
my best friend's a Cancer rising, and I think she'd be like, that's exactly how I feel. It's like needing a current of optimism and faith that doesn't necessarily come from other people. It comes from the service that you offer.
It has to be it has to be like, I have to show up for it. You know?
Right.
There has to be
okay
to this. Yeah. All right.
Yes.
So we've got our Leo rising. Do I have a sequence of signs yet or not?
Right.
We have our Leo rising. Okay, Miss, read for yourself. What you got?
Oh, this makes sense to you because it's trine my ascendant, and in my fifth house, deep knowing. Deep knowing. So this means that like you have a sense, it's using your intuition, but it's more so like, it's not necessarily sensing through something, it's just knowing something. When you can tell when something's going to happen, or you just know this is going to happen, you just know that this is the right way, or this is that you feel like I guess a bond or a sense of understanding yourself, I would say. So anybody Leo rising, I'm a Leo rising, that's like cute. It's like that Sagittarius trine from the fifth house of your creativity and your love, like even romantic love, but just love and passion and entrepreneurship and just excitement and affairs and risks and all these things, like things that are just good time or joy, whatever, is trying your ascendant. And it's sort of like, I'm okay with this. I feel I'm okay with who I am, or I'm okay with like how I express myself, since the fifth house, that expression. I'm happy with this. I feel like I know myself, or I know that when I communicate, it's coming from my place of knowing, or who I actually am. That's really interesting. I would say that's fair. I've been feeling, I've been feeling more connected to what I would want to say if I was presented with something, because I've been really thinking about how I feel about certain things, how I feel about things that I think we all grapple with. And so the more I step into that, the more I feel certain of my communication and my expression, and that it makes me feel a lot more joyous to have that sense of understanding without always analyzing it or always, going over it. It's like, no, this is what I believe, and this is what I would like to express. And Sagittarius is what you believe, what you hold as your wise faith, is what you say is the morals and the things that, if you go this way, you will feel that optimism and joy, right? So that's interesting.
Yeah. And you pointed out that the fifth house is like kind of naturally the Leo house, and the fifth house is sort of the natural placement of the sun since it rules Leo. And so this eclipse is, the sun is ruling your ascendant, and there is absolutely this sort of rebirth of self and self-expression. And I'm thinking about you, Vanessa, and I don't want to, I'm not going to call you, I'm going to call you in a little bit. I'm thinking about the new love journey that you've experienced in this 18 months. And I don't want, I'm not going to say anything else. I won't say anything else about that. But I think that literally the stories that you were telling me when I met you, which was Thanksgiving 3 years ago. I don't know time anymore, but I think that's right. The stories that I knew about you at that time are very different than the stories I hear from you now regarding how you love and the love that you are currently experiencing. And so I just want to point out that I think there's absolutely been a lot of release in just in terms of like, what is my love and what has it looked like for me to love before, and where have I felt like my love isn't enough, or my love isn't good, or any of these sort of things.
Yeah.
And kind of coming to this place of like, oh my God, actually the way I love is so dope. And like, actually I'm learning that, like, I'm learning so much more about my love because I'm in, like, I've stepped out of these old stories and now I'm in one where I actually get to be myself and love authentically, and like, you know, give these gifts from this fifth house. So
that's very true.
okay,
With
I
that
didn't get
North
teary-eyed
Node in my 11th house. Yeah, the North Node in my 11th house, it was just like, what do you actually want for your future? What do you know, is it just that you want to be in love with someone, or is it that you want someone to have a future with you? You know, and which ones, you know, kind of come together, and which ones do you have to let go of? Which stories do you have to let go of that kept a narrative of love alive that doesn't actually fit who you are anymore? And so, you know, yeah, it was a refining process of, you know, at the end of the day, what are your, and with my own North Node too, like, what are your values? Like, what is it that you want from this specific part of your life? And it reconstructed my future. That is so, girl. Virgo rising.
Moving on.
Virgo rising.
Looking at the fourth house, the tender fourth house of home and origin. What you got?
Oh my goodness. I think this is so interesting. This is the other square, right?
Yeah.
Flexible. So it's asking you to be flexible. I think that's so interesting that it's like, it's teaching you, or especially, you know, with it being Virgo, like Virgo is, you know, I organized it in a way that I know how it's going to go, right? But it is a mutable sign already. So the flexibility is there. And the whole point of organizing is so that you can be flexible. The whole point of, you know, say memorizing something over and over again is so that it's malleable in your mind, you know, and you can kind of pull it out at a point, right? Yeah. So if that's the goal and that's the purpose, then if it's not perfect yet and you still have to be flexible or adaptable with it, it's probably perfecting itself. So it's I think, calling attention to where you think you're perfecting it, but when it's actually doing its own perfecting. Right. So if you don't get it right on the first try, it's just because, let's say, I mean, even let's just use the obvious of juggling, right? Because this person is, you know, flexible, like this kind of looks like a circus picture. But if you don't do it right,
too,
right? If you don't do it right the first time, a Virgo can have that sense of, well, then I can't do it. And it's like, no. The body needs to get used to doing it over and over again. So it has to fail all the time so it can perfect itself. Right? So that it can feel where it's doing the wrong and right thing, because that's the natural discrimination process. Is if I'm not doing it right, then there's some other way that I'm supposed to be doing it. So I have to keep doing it until I finally get that way that I'm supposed to be doing it.
Yeah. Thinking about Sagittarius being the fourth house and weaving this story you have started, I'm feeling like someone who this, you know, since we're wrapping up this 18-month story, maybe someone who kind of felt like a wanderer, or someone who felt like, because they weren't, if I'm not able to make this work here, I have to keep finding where I can make this work. And maybe that being connected to these old stories, these old Sagittarius wounds, perhaps, or like from home, more expectations. There's so many, like, when Sagittarius is on an angle, I feel like there's so many stories built in.
It's a mark of an immigrant, you know, it's a mark of immigrants too. Like you may have been born somewhere that has different expectations than your parents do. And so you have to balance
cultural, narratives.
There's a heritage there.
Absolutely. And so I'm seeing this kind of peace, as you're saying, this like finally like reaching this place of peace of, just because it wasn't right before, or I wasn't able to make it right in the past, doesn't mean that what I'm doing now isn't alchemizing something amazing for myself moving forward. And just because, like, okay, so things weren't perfect then, or like what I was taught was totally wrong. I know a lot of Sag I see people who are also white who are kind of coming to terms with what they were taught about the world from their white parents. And they're realizing that those things are not true. And so it's kind of like, if everything has been false, then nothing can be real. And the answer is no, that's not true.
Right.
We're alchemizing life all the time. We're alchemizing life moving forward. You are
Yes.
making your life beautiful, and it is, by moving through it. And flexibility from the past. The past is not
Yes.
the future. The past does not define you.
The past does not define you. All right, Libra. Libra rising.
Libra rising, third house, Sag.
Yes. Okay, so we have.
You shuffle so efficiently. I feel like I
Thank
shuffle.
you. By the book, which is very interesting for Sagittarius at all, but it's like, but Libra.
Wow.
I mean, listen, I'm a Libra, so I'm not calling out anything I don't know. But like, Libra has a tendency to just be like, well, I don't know how to do it. And it's like, I don't know, by the book. Like, just go figure it. Like, you know, somebody's done it before. Somebody somewhere. Somebody somewhere. I'm talking to myself, y'all, too, because it's like somebody has done it. Go find it. Like, but it's asking people advice. It's saying, you got here, how did you do it, how, so that I can have a rough framework or a solid framework of how to get to where you are, or how to, you know, become who I want to become. So I think this eclipse in the third is a supportive eclipse, because maybe this is, you know, your realization that you can find something that can guide you in the right direction, or maybe you even opt into going back to school, because that is a by the book experience, right? Or at least maybe online courses or something like that. It's like, I'm going to just go the regular route. And so Sagittarius is like, listen, if we have faith in ourselves and in our ability to express whatever it is that we want to express, then if we like build that foundation, then I feel like this would be a good way to, you know, start expressing, you know, and not necessarily going just like straight to, you know, communicator. It's like, let's just take our time, let's go by the book, and let's make sure that we do this the right way, so that we're true to what we believe in, or like we really know what we believe in.
Absolutely. And we're talking about the third house, ninth house axis. And
yes,
Gemini is the ninth house of publishing. And so it's literally like, what is starting with my mind. In Sagittarius, I can absolutely like learn the steps to do whatever I'm trying to do. I can literally like follow the instructions. I can literally figure out what it is that I'm alchemizing. I'm gonna keep saying alchemizing for Sagittarius, because that's what we're doing. But absolutely, like I can, there are steps, there is a path, you know. It feels very Sagittarian to like have to be the trailblazer, or like have to be the first one, and that can be very daunting.
Yeah.
How am I to get there if I'm supposed to be like, I'm supposed to just jump in? And it's like, that's actually, you don't need to do that. Nobody is telling you to do that.
Like,
you can absolutely take your time and just figure it out, and it's okay.
You know what's funny? It will be sextile my Mercury, so I kind of get that feeling too. It's just like, use the community around you, or what you have, the resources around you to aid your future, the way that you want to express yourself. If you have, you know, a group around you that can give you either a certification, or at least the feeling that you understand what you're talking about, or you use resources of people who do this kind of thing, like, and they can, you know, point you in the right direction. Like, there's just like a lot of different resources you may have around you that you're not, you know, that may support you now. Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
So then Scorpio. Okay, we're finishing out of Scorpio.
Yeah.
I love this for Scorpio. Treasure Island. So yeah. Wow. So this means that you've been working very hard on something, and there's actually a very large reward when you do land. So it's like basically saying the optimism of Sagittarius maybe, and saying, listen, I know that this has been a long journey. I know that it's been feeling like it's going very slowly, and maybe at times you haven't felt like you were going to get to a place where you could really use what you have, right? Because Scorpio is, I've got value, I have something to offer. Right. And so soon you will be, you know, whenever you land, you will be able to do that. You will be able to use what it is that you have, what it is that you've got. And I think it's like that stifled feeling for so long that you may get your shot, or you may get that opportunity to really show and then to reap the rewards of that, and to reap the benefits of that.
Absolutely. The South Node's been moving through your second house for 18 months. You are like, what are my skills? What everything I thought I was good at, I don't feel like is
worth anything.
Yes.
I don't feel like what I learned, Sagittarius, can be applied to the skill set that is required of me at this point. I don't understand what I'm good for anymore. My values are changing. What do I even want? What do I even want to be doing? What do I want to be putting my time into? What do I want to be practicing? So I love that. I love that, like, arduous 18 months of
Right.
moving through these old stories, moving through who you've been and what has been important, and letting those things go, clearing space for this big payoff of absolutely, this is what you are, like, this is what you're passionate about, this is what you are.
Wow.
Do. This is a skill set that feels good to you, and that has meaning to you, and that's you to alchemize something.
And then when it dips over into the 7th house, you're going to finally be able to use that back and forth quality that you're looking for, you know, because you've probably just been with, you know, going through your 8th. It's like, you know, going through all of the things that you're like, okay, well, that's getting in my way, and that's getting in my way, and that's getting in my way. This is my lack mentality, or this is my, you know, it's just like, how do I speak better? How do I communicate my depths better? How do I understand? I'm bringing them to the surface. Like you said, like, it's holding me back from believing in my own resources, in my own skills. And if I can't even believe in my own skills, I can't come to another person and say that I have value, because I'm not investing in that. So true.
1,000%. Yay! Oh my goodness.
I love this. This is so great.
We did it. All right. Oh my gosh. It's time for a nap now. Is it nap?
Yes. Forced rest. We are going to go close our eyes, Taylor.
Forced rest. We are. Thank y'all for watching. If you enjoyed this, please share it with someone else who may enjoy it.
Yes.
Turn on the little bell.
Our bells. Yes.
Do this with the moons. So we'll see you again in 2 weeks for the
And
Gemini.
that will also be the day before Venus retrograde.
Yes, it will. So we'll end
the full moon.
And do you know that the day that Venus stations retrograde is also the day that Chiron stations direct?
Stop.
So,
so a lot of lessons right there, but a lot of lessons right there, guys.
We're gonna have to, like, what deck am I gonna pull from for that? Like,
right? Aquarian, maybe, just something that's just like not in my face.
Right.
Something pretty. Not like, oh, you have the Aquarian. You're used to the Aquarian. Yeah.
Just something pretty so that we can all.
Exactly. It's such a beautiful deck. It's like, oh, moon. That looks so glorious. The moon. When I, you know, such a
beautiful. Right. It's so pretty in here. What? It's so nice.
Exactly. Rider Waite. It's like, ow, ow, ow. Like all this like
craziness. The crabs are out. No.
Right?
Get rest.
Yes.
Get sleep. Drink water. Let those stories go. Celebrate who you are becoming and who you have become with 18 months. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yay. Bye, guys.
Bye.